Hello everybody, today we're going to be making a cheesy potato bake. So I'm going to show you everything we need. So we need one large clove of garlic, I've got a couple there. So we need some spring onions, I've got 4 spring onions, so however many you prefer. Then we're going to want 100 grams of chopped bacon and around about 800 grams of potatoes. You can use any potatoes you like. I'm just using some white potatoes here. I'm not even going to peel them for this particular recipe. We want 1 teaspoon of dried thyme or 1 tablespoon of fresh thyme. We've got 1 chicken stock cube, so that's 250 millilitres of chicken stock. We want 300 ml of double cream. We've got 2 teaspoons of black pepper, 2 teaspoons of salt. It's quite peppery, so you may only want to use 1. We've got 200 grams of grated cheese. We've got 115 grams of butter. I've used 290 millilitres of milk. To make this recipe gluten-free, I've used free from plain flour. We've got 60 grams of that. I'm going to start off with cutting up all my potatoes. So I'm just slicing them into quite thin slices, about 3 to 4 millimeters. I know that's very tricky to do. So just as thinly as you possibly can. It just helps it to cook a lot better. Definitely makes it a lot easier if you've got a very sharp knife. Preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius here. As you can see, I've left the skins on the potatoes just to make it a little bit easier, and you don't notice when you're eating it at all. But if you want to peel them, then go ahead and do that first. So I'm going to go ahead now and get all these other ones sliced. So that will be my 800 grams of potatoes. I'm just going to pop all them in a saucepan now and give them a little rinse under the tap, so to get all the starch off. I'm going to drain the water a couple of times just to make sure it's nice and clear and not starchy at all. Then refill the pan with some cold water, put it on to boil, put the lid on, and you want to boil them till they're slightly soft, not too soft so they might go all mushy. So now we're going to go on and start preparing all our ingredients and weighing them all out. So I've got 4 spring onions here. I'm just going to chop the ends off. And then just cut your spring onions into small little pieces, and then we're going to put them aside in a little bowl. I've said this in past videos, so you'll know how much I love to prepare all of my ingredients in advance. Just makes it a whole lot easier when it comes to actually making the things. So I'm going to cut my garlic up now. We actually want to crush the garlic. I find it much easier to crush it, take the skins off, and then we can prepare it however we want to prepare it. So I have crushed it a little bit, but I'm also going to chop it up so we don't have massive chunks of garlic in our dish. And then just pop your prepared garlic to one side as well, so we can start preparing the next item. So we're going to get the bacon out now and just cut that into small rough pieces, however you like it really. It doesn't really matter too much. I always make sure I chop up any fresh ingredients first and then any meats after. So now we're going to start weighing ingredients. So we want 200 grams of grated cheddar. I like to use extra mature cheddar. It just gives it a lot of extra flavour. So it's entirely up to you which kind of cheese you use. So that's the cheese done. Next, we have got 290 ml of milk. This is just semi-skimmed milk. So we're going to be using this whole container of cream anyway, so we're just going to add it to the milk as we need to combine them later on anyway. So just pour that straight in, getting every last little drop there. Straight into the milk. So I'm using 60 grams of plain gluten-free flour. You can use any flour that you like if you don't need gluten-free. And then for the butter, we want 115 grams. I'm just using Clover. You can use any butter again that you like. This is obviously a salted butter. So by this point, your potatoes should be pretty much ready. So give them a test. I'll do a fork prick test just to see. They're slightly floppy and a little bit mostly cooked. Then they are done. We're just going to drain our potatoes and leave them to cool a bit. Next thing we want to do is get our chicken stock ready. So I've put 1 stock cube in. I don't want too many stock cubes in there, so I've just got 1, and I'm going to fill that with 250 milliliters of water, and then just give that a good mix to dissolve the stock cube. So pop a little bit of oil in a pan. I've got some olive oil there, and turn your pan on to heat the oil. Once you've done that, you're going to add in your bacon to cook through. You want to just cook it till it's a little bit brown. And then once that's done, we can start adding everything else. So we're going to add in our spring onions and also our garlic. Pop them in, give them a good stir and a bit of a cook through for about a minute before you start adding anything else. And my pan was starting to catch a little bit here, so make sure you're careful of that. I think it's just our not very good oven and not the right pan. So we're going to add in our butter here and allow that to melt in. It'll take a few minutes to melt, but honestly the smells are already amazing just with the butter, the onions and the bacon. Once that has all melted, we're going to add in our flour. And this part of the video went a bit wrong because my daughter rang me at this point, so there's no video of me mixing in the flour, but this is what it looks like once it is done. So it goes very, very thick, so make sure the heat is quite low for this part because you don't want to burn the flour. So give that a good stir through. Once you're confident that it's all mixed in, we're going to start adding in some of our stock. So you don't want to add all of it in at once, you just want to add a little bit at a time just to allow it to be absorbed before you add in the next bit of stock. Give that a good mix through. Particularly love this dish, it's very easy to make and most of it is just done within one pan, which makes it a whole lot easier, a lot less washing up, which is fantastic. It's definitely enough to serve at least 4 people, depending on what you're having with it. We prefer to have it as part of a side with the rest of our meal. And if you don't like onions, you can always swap them out for something like a leek or maybe some celery. It's just, your preference really. So that's the rest of the stock going in there. So that's what it looks like once it's all combined and ready. It's quite thick at the moment, but we're going to start adding in some other ingredients now. So you're going to pour in your mixture of cream and milk. And then carefully mix that in as well. It might look quite lumpy to start with, but as it warms through, it will combine together. So as soon as you've mixed in your cream and your milk, you're going to start adding in your thyme, your salt and pepper. I've got 1 teaspoon of thyme. This is dried thyme. If you're using fresh, you need 1 tablespoon. Then moving on to pepper, I've put 2 teaspoons in. It was quite peppery, but I quite enjoyed that. You may want to just use 1 if you don't like things as peppery. And then we've also got 2 teaspoons of salt here. And then we're just going to give that a good mix through. Obviously, with the more pepper you've put in, the darker the mixture goes. So make sure you keep the heat on low and you keep stirring because you don't want your milk and cream to stick to the bottom at all and burn. It will start to thicken up. Take a good few minutes for the milk to warm through, as if like your cheese sauce type thing. It takes a good few minutes to warm up. You can see the mixture starting to thicken up a bit here. And it's almost ready. And that's sort of how you want it to look, really. So I'm using a 2.6 litre oven-safe Pyrex dish. I find it's the perfect size for this meal. And yeah, these dishes are brilliant. You can use them for all sorts of things. But you want to put a tiny little bit of the mixture, cream, bacon, spring onion mixture in the bottom there. And then gradually you're going to start layering it all up. So you want a layer of the sauce, then a layer of potatoes. Make sure to overlap your potatoes as well. And then you'll add another layer of sauce on the top and then some cheese on the top of that. And then just basically repeat the process again until you've used up all of the mixture and potatoes. And then you finish with some cheese on the top. It's quite an enjoyable little therapeutic almost process of layering it all up and putting it all together. So we've ended up with 3 layers basically of potato sauce and cheese, and you can have this as a side or as a main. Obviously you can add in different things in it if you would prefer. You can pop extra bacon or change it for ham or add something else, different vegetarian options if you'd prefer that. But this is just a really filling actually meal. Me and my husband had probably about a third of this each because our girls didn't want any, and then he had the remaining third for his lunch one day. So it's very, very filling dinner indeed. There we go, that's the last layer. Now we're going to pop it in our preheated oven for around 40 to 45 minutes until it's sort of golden brown on top and nice and bubbling. This is what it looks like when it's just come out the oven. Absolutely smells delicious. I'm just going to portion it up. So like I said, me and my husband had about a third each, so it's quite a large portion. This is my husband's, and then I had pretty similar gluten-free version and also with some green beans. So that's how you make my cheesy potato bake. Hope you enjoyed this recipe. Let me know if you have a go at making it. Thank you so much for watching, everybody.